Greetings. This is Chapter 3, Day 1, Graphing and Solving 1- and 2-Step Inequalities. Let's first review what an inequality is. It means something that's not equal to, so it's either greater than or less than. So number 1 here we have m is less than 3, so that means that we would put a dot at 3. We would leave the dot open because 3 is not included because it doesn't have the equal sign under it. And on the numbers less than 3 would be to the left. So we'd shade everything to the left, including the arrow that shows that it goes to negative infinity. So then anything that is shaded is a number that is less than 3. So on number 2, n is less than or equal to, because it has the line under it, negative 4. So we would go to negative 4 here, put a dot. This time we would fill the dot in because it also has the equal sign. It was less than or equal to. So that means that that dot is included. And then all the numbers less than n would be to the left, including the arrow. All right, number 3, x is greater than 3. So we'd put a dot at 3. We would not fill it in because it is not equal to. And the numbers greater than 3 would be to the right, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to positive infinity. So we fill in the arrow. Number 4, x is greater than or equal to negative 4. And remember, the Pac-Man always eats the big guy. So since he's eating this way, I know that this side is the big side, and then that this side is the little side. So that's one way that I know that that's a greater than. So x is greater than or equal to negative 4 means I would put a dot at negative 4. Negative 4 is included because it is also equal to. And then since it's greater than, the numbers greater than would be to the right. So that's a little review on how you graph an inequality. So now we're also going to solve. So you solve an inequality just like you did an equation, except if you happen to multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip the inequality. So like here on this one, x divided by 20, we know the opposite of dividing by 20 is to multiply by 20. What I do on one side, I have to do on the other side. So then the 20 over 20 cancels out. I would have x is less than or equal to negative 2 times 20 is negative 40. So you solve it just like you would an equation, except if you happen to multiply or divide by a negative, you flip the inequality. So now I would go to negative 40. Looks like the negatives aren't showing up on the number line copy here. Hopefully they do on your paper. Yeah, they are there on your paper. So we're at negative 40. It is also equal to, so I would fill in the dot. It is less than, so numbers less than would be to the left. Number 6, 13 times m is greater than negative 234. So the opposite of multiplying by 13 would be to divide both sides by 13. We divided by a positive 13, so we're not flipping our inequality. So m would be greater than negative 234 divided by 13 is negative 18. So then to graph, I would go to negative 18 on the number line. I would not fill it in because it is not equal to. And then greater than, m is greater than, the numbers greater than would be to the right. Always shade the arrow also to show that it's going all the way up to positive infinity. All right, so on 7, we have 6, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it, less than or equal to a minus 3. So to get a alone, to get rid of a minus 3, I would add 3 on the right. Then I would also have to do the same thing on the left. Negative 3 and 3 cancel out. 6 plus 3 is 9, is less than or equal to a. But when it comes to graphing an inequality, people often mess up if you get the variable alone on the right. So I want to move it to the left. So I can just switch it all around. I know that if 9 is less than or equal to a, that then a would also be greater than or equal to 9, which is going to make it easier for me to graph. And that should make sense, right? I can either say I'm older than you or you're younger than me, and that means the exact same thing. So like here, 9 is less than or equal to a is the same thing as a being greater than or equal to 9. But with the variable now being on the left, it's easier to graph because now I would go to where 9 is. So a is greater than or equal to 9. It's also equal to, so I'd fill it in. And then the numbers greater than that would be to the right. Next one, negative 3x is less than or equal to 39. So x is being multiplied by negative 3. The opposite of multiplying by negative 3 would be to divide by negative 3. What? I said divide by negative 3. That should sound off a flag in your mind. Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip the inequality. So that less than just became a greater than. So we have x is greater than or equal to 39 divided by negative 3 is negative 13. So to graph, going to negative 13, putting a dot, I would fill the dot in because it's also equal to, and then the numbers greater than would be to the right. Number 9, 19 greater than 6a plus 7. So let me just rewrite it to make it prettier. 19 greater than 6a plus 7. So if I'm going to start to get a alone, to get rid of the plus 7, I would subtract 7. What I do on the right of the inequality, I do on the left. Ooh, big 7. 7 minus 7 cancels. 19 minus 7 would be 12 is greater than 6a. So a is not alone because of the multiply by 6. So the opposite of multiply by 6 would be to divide by 6. So that cancels out. So 12 over 6 is 2 is greater than a. But then again, a is on the right. I wouldn't graph it that way. That's when people mess up. So if 2 is greater than a, that means that a is less than 2, right? Keep the inequality pointing at what it was pointing at. It was pointing at the a. So when I move it around, it's still pointing at the a. So then I would go to where a is 2, put a dot. Not going to fill it in because it's not equal to. The numbers less than that would be to the left. All right, looking at number 10. So we have negative 8 minus 6a is greater than or equal to 88. So I'm solving a two-step equation here. So to get rid of the negative 8, I would add 8 on both sides. So that gets rid of the negative 8. So I still have negative 6a. Don't lose your negative. Greater than or equal to 88 plus 8 is 96. So to get rid of the multiply by negative 6 on the a, I'm going to divide by negative 6. A bell just went off in my head because I said divide by negative. So I'm going to flip. I've got a is less than or equal to. I divided by a negative, so I flipped the inequality. 96 divided by negative 6 is negative 16. So I'm going to negative 16 on the number line. Again, the negatives didn't show up. I know you can see them there on your paper. I would fill it in because it is also equal to, and then the numbers less than would be to the left. Great mouse shading. All right, 2 more. Let's see. This one we'd start by adding 5 to both sides. I'm just going to kind of like hop over the number line there. So we add 5 to both sides. We're at negative 8k is less than 35 plus 5 is 40. To get rid of a multiply by negative 8, we would divide both sides by negative 8. Again, that bell just went off in my head because I said divide by negative, so I'm going to flip. I'd have k is greater than 40 divided by negative 8 is negative 5. So going to my number line to negative 5, putting a dot. Dot would stay open because it's not equal to, and we would shade to the right because it is greater than. And lastly, number 10, to start to get a alone, I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So I'm going to get a alone on the right, and then I'll flip it around. So we have 10 plus 2, which is 12, is less than negative 4a. So to get a alone, I'm going to divide by negative 4. So there went that bell again because I said divide by negative. So I'm going to go ahead and flip my inequality so I don't forget. So 12 over negative 4 is negative 3. Negative 4a divided by negative 4, there's my a alone. Then again, people often mess up when a is alone on the right, so I'm going to flip it around. So if negative 3 is greater than a, that means that a, the unknown numbers, are less than negative 3. So then I would go to negative 3 on the number line. I'm going to leave it open because it's not equal to, and shade to the left because it is less than. All right, and that is how you solve 1- and 2-step inequalities. You solve them just like an equation, except you have to remember, if you multiply or divide by a negative, you got to flip that inequality.